Happy New Year to one and all, and welcome to another edition of The Rant, the podcast that allows me to once again shoot off whatever's on my mind and hopefully give you guys some insight, entertainment, and valuable tidbits of wisdom. And as always, this podcast and others in the Jazzy Groove Rainy Day podcast family are brought to you by the power of five. If you like what you're doing, you like what you're hearing, and you want to make a difference, consider smashing the like button. It's free and goes a long way in helping us reach more people, which allows us to get better in our production values and everything else, and hopefully make your lives a bit more pleasant. And now, on with the show. And today's show is called simply Leave Me Alone. And I say that because there's a certain demographic of women, I should say, that are a particular pain in the backside. And it just needs to stop. It just needs to stop. And I'm talking about my old dear friends, BWs, aka black women. Now, I say that wholeheartedly. I'm speaking from my chest at this point because of a certain incident that happened to me a while ago. And I've told this to you on other podcasts, but it's worth going into because it's going to tie very nicely into the topic of our conversation. And it went something like this. My wife, then girlfriend at the time, and I were walking in Manhattan down the street. We were out enjoying the day, talking amongst ourselves, and just enjoying each other's company. Coming up toward us were two black women. And as they passed, my wife just rolled her eyes. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Those girls were just complaining that I stole another one." Now, at the time, I simply said, "Psh," and I just kept on walking. I couldn't be bothered with him. It was just not something I wanted to get into. That being said, the more I thought about it later on, the more it began to annoy me. And it got to the point where I'm of the I'm of the mind to just be done with them. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm not bothering you. I'm not trying to talk to you. You're surely not trying to talk to me. So what in the universe would possess you to say something? As I stated before, you're not trying to talk to me. You don't want me. It'd be something different if you were interested in me and this person had taken me from the dating pool. That'd be one thing. But they didn't want me. It was more of the line where, yeah, she's taking more of our women. I don't want him, but some other black girl would. So she shouldn't be taking him. Now, at this time, I had dated quite a few um, women from different ethnic backgrounds, and it come to to come to a very logical and valid conclusion. Black girls didn't want me. As much as I wanted them, they didn't want me. And there's an old saying that goes something like this: go where you're appreciated, not tolerated. Up to this point, black girls tolerated me. They tolerated me. There was no love. There wasn't even any like. They they just they I was there and they tolerated me. And not for anything that I did, I found out much, much, much later that it's a topic that all women suffer from. And I say suffer in the nicest way possible. Because they don't know they're suffering. It's just the way it is to them. And I'm wondering if myself and others like me in the space can truly get through to them. I'm thinking no. And I'm thinking no because what we're saying isn't something that they want to hear. They know we're right. Let's do some shout out to my friends at AUT. Let's go through some uncomfortable truths here. They know we're right. Deep down in their core, of course, when everything is said and done, they know we're right. The female dating model is unsustainable because the pool of eligible bachelors in their minds, the people that they want, is shrinking every single day. What's not shrinking every day is the amount of guys in total. But 80% of women only like 10% of guys, where 90% of guys like 90% of women. And that goes to the heart of a bigger conversation. And that simply is there are more women on this planet than there are men. So there's a built-in bias. The odds are stacked in our favor from jump. Again, it is what it is. And because the bias is built in our favor, or the odds are in our favor, that automatically makes us more desirable. You wouldn't know it for listening to modern women today, but it's the truth. And they help make it so. Because if a majority of women like a minority of men, that automatically places the men at an advantage. They become the prize, for lack of a better word. They are more desirable because there's less of them. Simple supply and demand. When supply goes down, demand goes up, prices go up. And conversely, when demand goes down, supply goes up, prices go down. It sounds kind of, well, it sounds rather simplistic when it's in that frame, but it really is that simple. It really is. It's simple economics. things that are valuable are things that are in short supply. Everybody wants them, but there's not enough to go around. Moving that model back into the dating world, there have never been enough guys. There's always more girls than guys. So that's baked in. Now let's add on to the fact that the majority of women want a minority of men. That makes a small number substantially smaller. As has been stated in other podcasts, men that are 6 feet or taller, fit bodies, making six figures or better, are in the 0.1 percentile. And that's just in the United States. They are less than 1%. They're less than 0%. Which means, can you find someone like that that'll commit? Yes, absolutely. They're out there. But are you going to? I doubt it very seriously. And that's because the supply, which is the elite, the cream of the crop, is outstripping demand. You want to make guys pay for it? Here's how you do it. All you have to do is lower your standards and let more people into the dating game. Which, for the vast majority of women, is a non-starter. So we're not even going to look at that because that's never going to happen. Women are picky. Men are not. At least as far as initial attraction and dating is concerned, no, they're not. They get picky when it's time to commit. You see, each party in this dance has different criteria for invitation and retention. Women use sex to attract the mate in the hopes of retaining that mate for long-term commitment and marriage. Men, on the other hand, have commitment, and they gain commitment through sex with the potential for long-term mating and marriage. And that's not taking into consideration the fact that men, by and large, are polyamorous. They don't want one. They want many. Now, if you're religious, you might not think about that too much. But think about this. Up until the birth of Jesus Christ, all the main characters, the protagonists, the main characters in the Bible, in the Old World Translation, aka Old Testament, were polyamorous and polygamous. No more so than Solomon, King Solomon. 100 wives and 900 concubines. What in the Sam blazes are you going to do with all those people? What? What are you going to do with all them people? There's no way you can satisfy them all. And yet he had them. And nobody told him no. Jehovah God never told him no. So you had all that. And we're as the descendants of those people still have that hardwired in us. Conversely, if you believe in evolution, We've been hardwired like that forever. Again, it is what it is. But how does that dealing with BW? Well, let's see. Black women have an enormous, erroneous, I should say, excuse me, perception that most black men aren't worth anything. AKA, black men ain't ish. Excuse me. As a black man, I can sit here and say that ain't true. You can't base the entirety of a species on the actions of a few. Because when you tar all them everybody with the same brush, there are going to be those who have no stake in the game whatsoever. They're going to erroneously be charged with it. And that's why that in itself is not fair. Now, are there a lot of guys that aren't worth nothing? Yes, there are. Is it most? No. But a lot of black men think most of them are that. And they think that because all the girls that they date, all the guys that they date fall into that category because they're all, I won't say high value, I'll say well off through one way or another, be it money, be it status, be it title, whatever. They all have that in them. They all are up there in the upper stratosphere. They are the Pookies and the Ray Rays. And most of them get their accolades for status through sexual exploits. Let's be real. Let's be honest about it. Most of them are of a status that is up that elevates them into the upper echelons through sexual prowess. They know their way around the bedroom, and they know their way around women. And as we also know, that comes through lots and lots of practice. And even the Pookies and the Ray Rays get their share of no. Not as much as the rest of us, but they hear no too. So they're not guaranteed anything either. I like to look at them like looking at the predators in the animal kingdom. Because everyone talks about how lions and tigers and hyenas and cheetahs and things like that, all those animals are killers. And they eat what they kill. What we don't think about is that for every successful kill that they do get, there's 6, 7, 8 times, but they don't eat. And they kill to survive. They don't kill for the sake of killing. Now, are there animals that do that? Yes, there are, but they're few and far in between. And but getting back, they kill to eat. They kill to survive. They eat what they kill. And they don't succeed all the time. So moving it back to the dating realm, sure, they have riz, they have game, they have money, they have status, they have everything else, but they don't score all the time. They hear no. Just not as much as we do, the rest of us. And now going back to the whole thing with black women and black men and things like that, the guys that they want do them wrong. And so, and because they deal with enough, because they have such a finite worldview, and because they see so little, and their worldview is so skewered and so selective, they they erroneously paint everybody with the same brush. Oh, black men ain't this. F black men. And that just isn't the case. But you can't tell them that because they'll say, I dealt with a guy, and I dealt with a guy, and I dealt with a guy. Have you dealt with everybody? No. Then how do you know? You don't know because you haven't dealt with everybody. You can't make this stuff up. Another factor that black women are saying these days, which is completely laughable, is that black women also erroneously think that they can date outside their race. Now, can they? Yes. Anecdotally, I knew of a black woman who dated a white guy and married him. They have since divorced, but that's not the point. The point is that she found somebody who liked her that was outside of her race, and she pursued him and got married to him. So yes, it can happen. But, and this is a huge caveat here, this woman is around the age of my wife, who's about 50, 51 years old, and she comes from a different time period. You can't look at her and hold her to the same standards that you hold modern day women to, because she's cut from a different cloth. She's from a different age. And like I tell you guys constantly, my wife was the last of what I call a good breed of woman. And that and they had their issues. They just weren't as brazen about it. There was still some mystery to it. These days, there is no mystery. It does what it says on the tin. What you see is what you get, and that's all. There is no layers to peel back because it's staring you right in your face for what it is. So they think they can date outside their race, but the truth is that they can't, because according to data from the dating site apps like Cupid and Bumble and Hinge and all those other ones, black women are the least desirable for prospective males to date. And why is that? Oh, you got a minute? Pull up a chair. Externally, there's nothing real about them. Everything, and I do mean everything, is fake. Fake hair. Fake eyes because they got contacts. You ever met a dark-skinned woman with blue eyes? I never did. Well, actually, no, I did one. But it was contacts. Fake noses, fake jaws, fake eyelashes, Botox for the crow's feet and wrinkle lines. Then you get fake nails. You get fake breasts, fake butt, You get heels because they're not that tall. And I'm quite sure there are quite a few that I'm not even remembering at this point. But that by itself will disqualify a boatload of women, regardless of what race they are, but especially black women. Now, before I go any further, full disclosure, it was a long time from the days that I heard that observation from my wife to myself about what those black girls said. It's been about 30 years. And at which time I've moved on. And I have no hatred in my heart toward black women. If anything, I'm indifferent to them because I'm not trying to get with one, and one of them's not trying to get with me. It is what it is. They leave me alone, I leave them alone, and we all live happily. And if one tried to talk to me now, I'd say thank you, but no thank you. I'm happily married. Again, going back to the common sense test, the way I feel at this point about black women, it's not really kind, not really. It's not fair because it's colored by my previous dealings with them. It's not kind and it's not just. It's simply how I am, my stances. Because my feelings have become the norm. And that's it. Again, it is what it is. Don't shoot the messenger. And don't hate the player, hate the game. And this comes to the penultimate part of my discussion. It simply is, if they want to do that, then that's on them. And that's fine. That's cool. They can think what they want. They can say what they want. They can feel how they want. They can do what they want. It doesn't do me anything at all. Because I'm above it. I'm above it now. I'm at the point in my life where it's like they can do what they want. It doesn't affect me, so I'm not going to worry about it. I talk about it as much as I do because I also realize that my son and his generation are coming up and they're going to have to deal with this. And as bad as it is now, it can only get worse. So I'm here to talk to them and tell them this is how it is. And if you want a favorable outcome, this is what you should do. And again, I'm not saying these things thinking that everyone's going to listen to me and change and everything's going to be fine. No. They're going to do what they want. And that's fine. The only difference between men thinking that way and women thinking that way is that men have the men are unfortunate enough to understand the real time consequences of their actions or inactions. Men know from a young age because no one's looking out for them. Outside of the family unit. And I can even argue as much as says Not everybody in the family unit feels this way, but outside of the family unit, nobody cares. You're just another brick in the wall, another cog in the great wheel that is life. And it's going to go on with or without you. So this is what it is, and this is how you deal with it. Because this is what it is. Women are deluded because men have made it so. We have become victims of our successes. Because again, when men decided to give women a leg up and level the playing field, no one thought to check them. They simply said, here it is, let's let them have it. But nobody sat there and said, well, if we let them have it, how far should we let it go? Because they are humans, and humans will take anything. You give them an inch, they'll take 3 miles. Unless you're there to stop them. And for the longest time, no one was there to stop them. And now that someone is trying to stop them, it's too late. We can say what we want. We can do what we want. We can feel how we want. We can think what we want. The realization is women are where they are because of us, and they're not going to change. They're loath to give it up. And because they're loath to give it up, they have to think, oh, well, they're trying to get their power back. We don't want that. So let's make it so that they can't. Misogyny, small d energy, brokies, all those negative pejorative terms that they have to throw out these days. And we're going to talk about broke in another podcast very soon, because there's a whole bunch of things I want to talk about on that. But this isn't the place for it. The only thing that you have to know is that men, excuse me, men are tired. And it took a long time for us to get tired. But now we're there. And we are past the point of no return on it. Excuse me. We want to be recognized. Much the same as women want to be recognized. But that's another thing. Women talk about how men are misogynists and they're hating women, and they're oppressed and they're bashed and everything else. But when the shoe was on the other foot, you think that they would say, well, we know what it's like to be oppressed, so let's not make it so that they feel the same way. No. They went all in, and they went ham. It's ridiculous. It is completely and totally ridiculous. But tying it back, and this is my final thoughts on it, tying it all back to leave me alone. I'm going to date who I want to date. They're going to date who they want to date. We're all going to date who we want to date. And if you aren't picked, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, doesn't matter. Black, white, Spanish, Puerto Rican, or Haitian. Shout out to De La Soul. Oh, no, excuse me. Shout out to a tribe called Quest and Q-Tip. We're going to date who we want to date. If you don't like it, that's your prerogative. Keep the thoughts to yourself. When I see a black person and a white person dating, happy within themselves and just being themselves and being content and loving life, I'm all for it. You go. Whether it's a woman, the black guy is a woman, and whether it's a black man and a white woman or a white man and a black woman, I'm like, go ahead. You do you. Because I'm not looking at it from a colorist standpoint. I'm looking at it from a human standpoint. And anytime you get two people that are in love and are plotting a course to making the best of their lives on this wacky planet of ours, I'm all for it. You go, king. You go, queen. Holla at your boy. Holla at your girl. But they won't give me the same respect back. And to that I say, leave me alone. I'm not bothering you. Who are you to bother me? Because the time is coming where I might not be so benevolent. And then we'll see what we see. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of The Rant. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this long and listening to me give a little bit of game. Not a lot, it's a little bit. Hopefully you learned something, or at the very least, your eyes were open to another train of thought. And in closing, I want to say, everybody, keep doing you. Love each other. Do better. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.